This video is going to be a look at the potential impact of free agent signing Marcus Davenport for the Detroit Lions in 2024. The Lions are operating with a ton of cap space still. I think it's 32 million, something like that. My memory may not serve correct there, so feel free to let me know in the comment section what the actual number is. But it's a shit ton of money that's out there on available to the front office. Right now, it would be in their best interest if Marcus Davenport can return to the fully healthy version that produced 9 sacks in 2021. Regardless of what you call the position, defensive end, outside linebacker, edge defender, where the Lions need someone to succeed on the opposite side from Aiden Hutchinson is in obvious passing downs when the offense is most often going to be an 11 personnel. Someone over there to the right-hand side is going to be lined up in a 9 technique or a wide 5. Same thing, regardless of what you call it. Marcus Davenport, sounds like right now in training camp, is playing really well. They addressed the position through that free agent signing. He's got 23.5 sacks in his career. I think he was a number 14. I know he was a first-round pick. I think it was number 14 or maybe 16. Still only 27 years old. Interestingly enough, he once ran a 4.58, 4.59 40-yard dash, something like that. His RAS score was really high going into the 2018 NFL Combine. I didn't produce NFL content at that point in time for the Ravens, certainly not for the Lions. But it makes sense that Dan Campbell, who was in New Orleans during those first couple of years when Davenport played and played well, he was the tight end coach, assistant head coach at that time. He knows Davenport really well. Could this be a home run for Brad Campbell? Could it be a triple or a double? I'll say this. If you get the 2021 version of Davenport, who is 6'6", 260, 265 pounds, running a 4.6 40, playing as violent as some of the film you'll see here, yes, it could be a home run or a triple or maybe a really solid double that clears the bases. Do I think that that's the version that Detroit has right now in 2024? No, I can't say that definitively. There's no film for us to see. We've got film from 2021 that I'll show you, 2 clips, I think, from 2022. And I will cover extensively the 2 games he played a lot of snaps in 2023 and actually played quite well. As an aside, I saw him play in 2022, when the Ravens went down to New Orleans and beat the Saints by 2 touchdowns. In fact, Davin played a lot of snaps that year overall and a lot of snaps that night, that game. Only produced a half a sack all year in 2022. That was after putting up 9 sacks, 16 quarterback hits, and 3 fumbles forced in 2021. So which version do you get? You certainly hope for the guy that can give you 8 or 10 sacks on the right side opposite Aiden Hutchinson. That would be amazing. That's exactly what this team needs. And to be able to get that done for 1 year, $6.5 million contract, there is some pressure there. I think there's some pressure there for Davenport, probably some pressure there for the front office as well, for him to perform. Staying healthy is the first step, clearly, towards production. He'll get snaps on that right side, particularly on early downs. I will tell you, based on the limited film from 2023 with the Vikings, I do see a lot of upside. And the potential, the talent is still there. Certainly a guy who plays with a lot of violence, particularly with his hands. We'll get into some of the film here. Again, this will be 2021 film to highlight the ceiling, I guess, that you may have there for $6.5 million for one season. It's interesting to me also the Vikings are paying almost as much in dead cap. I think actually more, a little slightly more, 6.7, 6.8 million than the Lions are paying him in the first place. If you just look at the stats and judge talent and gameplay and potential impact that way, you'd say $6.5 million seems like too much for Marcus Davenport. After the last 2 years, 2022 and 2023, you got little to no production in terms of sacks, 2.5 total, and quarterback hits, only 12. Between his final year with the Saints and his 1 year in Minnesota, there's just not much statistical data to make you excited. Again, if you're a person who only relies on stats to indicate potential impact, if you get 1 sack or less, or even 4 sacks or less for $6.5 million, to use a baseball reference, that's probably a swinging strikeout. The force and the core strength that he played with in Week 4 against the Panthers, Week 5 against the Chiefs, that would be a good enough version to justify that contract, if you ask me. He plays through contact really well. He's someone who, when a guard or a tackle makes contact as he's winning against another player, they can't dislodge him. He's got great core strength for being a guy who's 6'6". He didn't play after week 6 in 2023, however. He was injured on a third down near the goal line against the Bears. Again, all the film that I'm going to focus on to break down for you is against the Panthers and the Chiefs week 4 and 5. He played with equal force and disruption in both games, indicating to me that the potential is still there. Now, can he be the guy that you're seeing roll through the film here? 9 sacks in 2021. I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. I don't think he's a pure pass rush guy out on the edge. I would liken the pure pass rush guys to, well, Aiden Hutchinson and others who can, I would compare them to basketball players who can just ISO. They can just isolate you on one side and take you and either pull up for a mid-range jumper or get all the way to the basket and make something good happen for themselves or for other people. I'm not sure that Davenport is that guy from a 9 technique or wide 5 if there's no tight end over there. Based on the film from the 2 games I have from 2023, I would say he's not an ISO guy out on the edge who can just give you 10 sacks organically. Now, I have to mention the violence he plays with. You can see it in these clips here. I think you can tell 2021, he was extremely healthy. If this is what the Lions coaches are seeing in camp right now, you can understand their excitement and their willingness to talk about it. He's an incredible downhill player when he's healthy, when he's playing with significant aggression, I guess is a way to put it. One other thing to think about is one of the seasons when Dan Campbell was there in New Orleans, 2019. Davenport had 51 quarterback pressures. I think it was third in the NFL at that point. In 2021, the first year that Campbell comes to Detroit, Davenport puts up the 9 sacks and 42 quarterback pressures. They think, as a front office and Dan Campbell, that the talent is still there. I do believe it's better suited for him to be inside on pass downs if they have another pure pass rush guy off on that right side. And look, Davenport could end up being the best player over there. I think the ceiling for this Detroit defense in obvious pass rush situations has Marcus Davenport kicked inside, a healthy Marcus Davenport kicked inside on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and someone else who's better as a speed rusher, outside rusher, attacking the left tackle over there off the right-hand side of the defense. He's really good on stunts. He's very smart and savvy with his timing on when to execute twist stunts. When he wants to attack downhill, some of the bull rushes you saw, he plays downhill. He's carried blockers with him at times in film from 21, 22, and 23. I can see him playing inside more if James Houston IV can give you anything resembling his rookie season of 2022. Now, Matthew Betts is the CFL player who had, I think, 18 sacks last year up north. You've also got Josh Pascal, who's like a hybrid D-end, D-tackle guy. I think if he's going to be playing out there at the edge, quote, it'll be on first or second down into the boundary. Derek Barnes, another player, will spend some time as a Sam linebacker, either kicked down to the line of scrimmage or walked back as an inside linebacker, like the old school 4-3 Sam. It would be great. I think the best situation is if Davenport plays to his potential and he's healthy. He has recent film from 2023 that we'll go over in a moment, of him being really good against the run and having an impact in pass rush situations. You will see him lined up on the inside significantly in this film here. We'll start off with week 4 against the Panthers from 2023. It's number 0 for the Vikings. I understand he'll be wearing 92 for the Lions. First of all, he's very good at playing half a man. In this case, he's lined up in a wide 5 pass rush situation and then takes on the left guard. And his second engagement tells me a lot about his athleticism while he's playing downhill. He's able to get extension. He's got super long arms. I have no idea what they measured at necessarily. Doesn't get credit for the sack here. I don't know what he measured at for the combine in 2018, but he's got all the size, all the athletic attributes from a speed standpoint. If he's healthy and explosive and can do these types of things that you're seeing in some of this film from last year, from less than a year ago, by the way, you should be excited as a Lions fan. Here he is against the right guard. Very good timing and understanding. I'd like to see him take the right guard back a little bit further here. He's allowing the defensive end, the edge rusher, if you will, on the right-hand side of our screen, 98, to basically pick the right guard. The defensive end actually misses. I'd like to see Davenport bring the right guard back further here, but he's waiting for the pick that misses. He actually runs into a teammate, and then Davenport cleans it up. I mean, that's by design. He's a veteran at this point, even though he's I mean, he's 27 years old. He's still young. I can say he's young because I'm old. He's a guy who's lined up everywhere just in the 2 games that I've seen from 2023 and seems to have a really good idea of not just what to do, but when to do it. Timing is a factor in some of these pass rush situations. Third down, again, lined up on the inside. Hunter, who's since signed with the Texans, obviously, is over on the other side. His moves against the guards on the inside, I think, is what's notable. Whether it's against the Chiefs or against the Panthers, looks like a guy to me that the Lions staff saw and said, okay, if James Houston IV can be James Houston IV again in 2024, I would love to do a video on him. You guys know that obviously because I'm a huge fan, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna have patience until he does some things in 2024 that allows me to stay up all night and do that. But the quickness and the violence that he plays with, the well-defined hand movements, timing on it. I mean, I understand the level of talent that he's dealing with here against the Panthers. They did not have a good offensive line. Even some of their players that were supposed to be good didn't end up being so. Another 3rd and 8. This one's smooth, going against the same left guard again. Spin move doesn't gain as much ground, perhaps, but he knows what he's doing. He reminds me of an NBA player who's good at everything, or a Major League Baseball player who's a 4-tool player, is really good at everything he does. Davenport, being 6'6", 260, 265, with some explosion, has all of the traits. Former first-round pick, as I mentioned twice before. I think that the Lions front office has to be given credit for making this move. With all of the cap space that they had available and still do have available, it's an even better move. It's an even more astute signing, if you ask me. For certain teams, like my Ravens, who have far less cap space, it probably would not have been as solid a move just because we had such limited space. The Lions are still sitting on 32 or 33 million. I just looked it up a little bit ago. Almost filthy rich with cap space. The last play that I'll show you from that Week 4 game, I think tells you about his range, his length. Now, I understand that Bryce Young did not have a good season as a rookie. He's also very short for a quarterback. Not a great fan of his technique here. He's trying to get rid of the ball to Hurst in the slot real quick. Davenport has the ability to disrupt to multiple things, the width of the field, and with his height, with his arm length. I like the signing. Do I think they're going to get 8 or 10 sacks out of him? I have no idea. But when you look at the 2023 film, I encourage you to go back and do so, independent of what I'm saying. You'll see a guy who can still play. He plays extremely aggressively against tight ends and often case physically dominates them. This is the ensuing week against the Chiefs, going to be lined up against the left guard, kind of running the inverse of one of the stunts I showed you against Carolina. He's going to be the guy getting upfield such that 98 can fit underneath late, ends up trucking the left tackle, getting a quarterback hit on Mahomes. Unfortunately, it's the type of thing that Patrick Mahomes does. He completes it for a 12-yard pass to the tight end, Noah Gray. I almost think Davenport would be better served in like a 3-point stance or a 3.5. Some people call it a 3.5. It's almost a 4-point stance. I have seen him in that stance in 2021, showed you some of those plays. I feel like he plays a little bit more downhill, a little bit more sudden in those moments. But one thing there is no doubt about is he kicks the shit out of tight ends in the run game and the pass game. It's consistent. He is too big and too strong and too explosive. Again, I'm presuming that here in Week 5, he's healthy. He got hurt Week 6 on a 3rd down play in the 2nd quarter against the Bears, I believe. If you're able to get him lined up against tight ends, whether it's to the boundary, to the field, you're going to win that matchup. It's just a fact. All of the film from 2023 and 2021 that I've looked at, and even the 2 games I had from 2022, looked like a guy who you line up to the tight end side if they're not going to motion, and you say, we're going to win that matchup. Well, you've already got one of those guys in Aiden Hutchinson over to the other side. One of the situations that I think kind of illustrates where he'd be better served or maybe a little bit more explosive if he's in a 3.5 or a 3-point stance. If you're not familiar with 3.5, your second hand is basically brushing the ground or just off of the ground. Some people prefer a 3.5. Some people prefer a 4-point stance, a traditional 3-point stance. I'm not a huge fan of him in this 2-point stance. I feel like his explosiveness is diminished somewhat. Now, maybe it's the scheme. Maybe it's the call on the defensive play at times. But to me, I noticed a pattern I'm not sure how many times. This happens to go down as a sack for him against Mahomes. He did have 1 sack in this game. I think 3 or 4 quarterback hits, 2 other disruptive plays against the pass. It's an incomplete pass on a 3rd and 6. We'll give you some film of Davenport against the run here, dealing with tight ends. You can see the obvious mismatch that he provides against tight ends. He's physically manhandles some of these guys. Occasional situations you'll see tight ends and receivers trying to double him or combo him. Oftentimes it's an annoyance to certain DNs, the bigger guys, 6'6", 265, like Marcus Davenport. I got to think that he looks at it and he's licking his chops, because this is a guy who gets full extension on tight ends. And when it's a tight end receiver combo, tightly aligned to try to deal with him, I've never seen movement such that running backs are able to find a lane. He's a violent individual. I hope for his sake and Lions fans' sakes and the team that he's fully healthy, because he's a devastating player against tight ends. You got to get the 3 technique to his side. Obviously, you have it here. Actually, it's almost a split 40 look by the Vikings with 2 dual 3 techniques. But you can see how aggressive he is, how assertive with tight ends. Occasionally, is the hand placement slightly high? Well, he is 6'6". I don't think that in run situation, or excuse me, 3rd down situations, you're going to get much of this, where he's lined up inside. It's a 3rd and 3 for Carolina. They end up running the football. I think he's really intelligent. And the last play that I'll show you, I'll try to use as proof of that. This is Pro Twins. It's 11 personnel. You have to trust me. Kelsey's going to motion from right to left on our screen, right to left for the offense. So he's going to widen Marcus Davenport up. And the way they do this is you've got an additional gap here, C gap, that Davenport is not responsible for. Harrison Smith is responsible for. We'll have to play flow through multiple times. When he decides to take a tight end down, the tight end's going to go where he wants him to go. This is a situation, I think, that illustrates his intelligence, and he understands who he's dealing with as a running back. Pacheco is a slick, extremely explosive player as a running back. Watch how Davenport holds the C gap against Kelsey, doesn't condense it too much to possibly give Pacheco the option to bounce it. Kind of forces him to come downhill, which is the design of the play, where Harrison Smith fits it there. Kind of maybe wish I'd given you the all 22 of this. Off screen, you have Sky Moore, a receiver who's assigned to block the safety. In this case, Smith is triggered now. This is his gap, C gap inside. Davenport's got D gap outside the tight end, and once he does see the run commit, he's able to take Kelsey down there. Look, this is a smart signing from a potential standpoint. What he can provide if he's healthy. It sounds like he's healthy now, but a week ago, I think he was on the PUP list. So, and he hasn't played, I think, more than 13 games. I think he's played more than 13 games once in his career, maybe twice. You've certainly had a lot of injuries, 2022, 2023, that he's dealt with. If you get the version of Marcus Davenport that's really healthy, really motivated, should he be on the field for 45, 50, 60 snaps a game? No, I don't think so. I think you're looking at a guy who should play 38 to 40 snaps a game by design. Early down situations, be your edge defender off the right-hand side for the defense, left-hand side of the offense. On passing situations, to me, it looks as if he'd be better served to be kicked inside to allow guys like Houston or whoever wants to play on the outside to rush the passer. I think they've got a lot of options. I don't think that Barnes is a guy in terms of a pass rusher, but he's extremely versatile and a guy who I think should be on the field as many downs as you can get him out there. Davenport, I think, falls into the same umbrella. You want to get him on the field, but with his injury history, I think they should curtail him somewhat because it is a 17-game season. Hopefully for the Lions, it's a 20 or 21-game season, obviously. You guys have to let me know, first of all, what your thoughts were when they signed Davenport, what your thoughts are now that he is practicing. They're fully padded, and apparently he's playing extremely well. There's no film of it. I wish I had film to show you. We certainly will not get any film of him playing in the preseason. That will be a waste of time. You have a guy who's a proven NFL talent, former first-round pick, large human being. You can see him standing next to other edge defenders, DNs in practice. You can see some of the pictures, particularly that the Lions website has put up. And Davenport's a big dude. He's just as big as Hutchinson, maybe even a little thicker. If he can give you anything close to the guy that you saw week 4 and week 5 against the Panthers and the Chiefs, and you can get 38, 40, maybe occasionally 45 snaps out of him, and someone, from my perspective, hopefully James Houston IV, can be your attack style rusher on third down, obvious passing situations, I think you got the best of both worlds. For $6.5 million, do you think it's worth it? I do. I think it's a calculated risk. His injury history is significant. It looks to me like in a 17-game season, he's a player who would get hurt and miss some time. Is it going to be 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, or 2? Who knows? In any case, I appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of the video and my thoughts and the way I tried to break down the film for you, in the comment section. And if you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study / commentary look at Marcus Davenport and the potential that is there still, I think the film from less than a year ago kind of proves that the potential is there. Maybe the health will not be. But if you think other Lions fans would enjoy it, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.